What is a constitution? Constitutions can broadly be defined as the rules, whether written or unwritten, that underpin the very existence of a state. Constitutions set out the mechanisms that operate at the highest level of government, defining parliamentary rules, electoral procedures, and the limits placed on those in power. Where the state exists, so too does the constitution. In democratic societies, constitutions, broadly speaking, come in two forms. Firstly, there are written constitutions, which outline the powers of the government and rights of the people in a single document. Secondly, there are unwritten constitutions, which are formed through time, tradition, as well as previous decisions or precedents. The advantage of a written constitution is that it offers clarity and reasonable certainty to all citizens about their principal rights and responsibilities. However, by nature, a written constitution can be rigid and difficult to update in a changing social context. Unwritten constitutions offer fewer restrictions and greater flexibility, but can leave citizens confused or ill-informed about their rights and responsibilities, and give politicians the leeway to interpret the unwritten constitution in a way that may not have been intended. Written versus unwritten constitutions. Some of the oldest constitutions are referred to as unwritten constitutions, meaning that instead of consisting of a single codified document, the constitution exists as a diverse collection of documents, precedents, and norms that have accumulated over time. The UK Constitution, for example, includes a variety of documents, such as the Magna Carta and the Human Rights Act of 1998, which rest on a wider bedrock of unwritten traditions, conventions, and customs. As such, the UK Constitution is considered to be unwritten. About 5 other countries also have unwritten constitutions, including Canada, Israel, and New Zealand. Most modern states, however, have a written constitution, meaning that the principles, procedures, and laws which underpin the state are written in a single document accessible for everyone to read. The first and most famous example of a written constitution would be the US Constitution, which outlines in detail the makeup of and powers assigned to the 3 branches of government: the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. This form of constitution has been adopted in the vast majority of modern states. Which is better? Unwritten constitutions have usually developed over a long period, evolving in response to changing political and social contexts. They are updated by the passing of new laws or the establishment of new norms. This means that under unwritten constitutions, governments can be more flexible and responsive to the challenges of the day and do away with outdated aspects of the constitution with ease. This flexibility, however, also means that changes can be made to an unwritten constitution without the full consent or knowledge of citizens. For example, in the UK, the relationship between Parliament and the courts has undergone subtle but significant change in recent decades in response to a changing society, something which the average citizen is unlikely to be aware of. This has, in effect, changed the UK's unwritten constitution. In contrast, making changes to a written constitution can be challenging, sometimes requiring complex procedures and parliamentary supermajorities. That means rules that are out of date or irrelevant are difficult to remove. In democracies, however not in dictatorships sadly, written constitutions ensure that the limits of the state are firmly established, leaving governments in a much more difficult position should they move to roll back constitutionally guaranteed rights or democratic norms. For example, in Ireland, any change to the constitution must be approved by a national referendum. This means that change can be slow and difficult to secure, but also that citizens can engage directly with the fundamental laws of their country. Unwritten constitutions are not as accessible to citizens because their parameters are not clearly defined. As a result, they are less likely to fully understand their rights and responsibilities as citizens. Written constitutions, on the other hand, consist of a single document, so any citizen can read and understand their rights. For example, we often see citizens of the USA citing their constitutional rights, like the First Amendment, which protects their right to free speech. Whatever their differences, Written and unwritten constitutions both serve to organize the management of the state and the fundamental rights of the people. Similarly, both are underpinned by values which are common to a population and its history. Both forms of constitution also generally hold the government's actions subject to review by either constitutional or supreme courts. Whatever your preference, constitutions ultimately serve to guide and safeguard the administration of democracy.